When the Vex-Shifters invaded, they didn't need a massive infantry or a traditional logistics chain. They brought the Mind Link, a telepathic network so dense and so perfect that every single drone, every ship, and every soldier moved with the fluid grace of a single galaxy-spanning organism. To fight one Vex was to fight them all. They knew where our bullets would travel before we pulled the trigger because they could feel the electrical impulses in our firing fingers. They didn't just win battles, they predicted them. Our commanders were picked off by drones that felt like they were guided by the hand of God. The Vex didn't see us as an army. They saw us as a disorganized, noisy cluster of biological static that needed to be synchronized into silence. The fall of the Atlantic defense line happened in minutes. The Vex, synapse lords, massive floating entities that acted as biological servers, simply sat in the stratosphere and thought. They projected a cognitive web over our soldiers, inducing paralysis, hallucinations, and a crushing sense of despair. Our troops didn't even fire back. They just stood there weeping as the drones dismantled them. But the Federation realized that if the Vex were a perfect signal, then humanity's greatest weapon was noise. We were the only species in the quadrant with a brain so chaotic, so trauma-ridden, and so stubborn that it could be weaponized. We created the 101st Cognitive Warfare Division. The Static Screamers. We don't just carry rifles. We carry void cradles, neural implants fused directly into our prefrontal cortex and amygdala. These devices don't make us smarter, they make us agonizingly loud. They generate a constant high-frequency stream of cognitive white noise. Every nightmare, every scream, every discordant sound in human history, amplified and looped into a psychic barrier. We are the only soldiers in the world who live with a permanent, burning migraine made of barbed wire. We don't hide from the Vex hive-mind. We scream into it until it bleeds. I am Major Elias Thorne. My neural rig is currently pushing 12 terahertz of mental static. And I'm about to break the silence. The mission was a neural assault on the Synapse Lord hovering over the ruins of Neo-Sol. The creature was the primary node for the entire sector, coordinating 1 million needle drones that were currently turning the city into a graveyard. Implant sync in 3, 1. Crank it. I roared over the haptic link. The moment the rig hit 100% power, the world turned into a jagged mess of static. My vision blurred, white noise screaming in my skull like 1,000 banshees. But as the mental agony peaked, the Vex hive-mind, which had been pressing against my consciousness like a heavy weight, suddenly recoiled. Static 2 Sarah. Signal is hot. I can feel the Lord flinching. The drones are losing their flight paths. Static 3 Jax. My brain is on fire, Elias. Let's get to the spire before I melt. We dropped from the stealth shuttle, falling through a sea of needle drones. Normally, these things would have carved us into ribbons in seconds. But as we fell, our static auras rippled outward. The drones, slave to the Synapse Lord's perfect telepathic signal, hit our aura and stalled. It was like watching a ballet dancer have a seizure. They collided with each other, their guidance systems haywire, falling from the sky in burning clusters. I hit the roof of the Central Plaza spire, my mag boots sparking against the nanocarbon surface. Ahead of us, the Synapse Lord descended from the clouds. It was a terrifying, translucent titan 50 feet tall, with multiple brains floating in a glowing purple cerebral fluid. Its eyes, hundreds of them, were fixed on us with a look of pure, agonizing confusion. It tried to speak into our minds. Cease the noise. It burns. You want quiet? I shouted, drawing my pulse carbine. Go to the void for it. The Lord unleashed a psychic blast, a wave of pure telepathic pressure that shattered the reinforced glass of the surrounding skyscrapers. Sarah and Jax were thrown back, their rigs sparking as they struggled to maintain the static barrier. I felt the pressure against my skull, my nose beginning to bleed, the liquid warm and metallic against my lip. The Synapse Lord focused its will. It was trying to code our brains into submission. I could feel its thoughts probing my memories, trying to find a gap in the noise. Not today. I hit the overdrive switch on my gauntlet. The void cradle in my head didn't just hum, it screamed. I reached into the darkest parts of the human psyche, the raw, animalistic rage of 1 million years of survival, and I threw it at the alien god. It wasn't a tactical maneuver. It was a neural shatter. The ripple of distortion was visible in the air. The purple cerebral fluid inside the Synapse Lord began to vibrate violently. The brains inside the creature started to turn gray, their neural pathways frying under the sheer, discordant volume of my mental static. The Lord shrieked, a sound that was felt in the marrow of every living thing for 10 miles. Its eyes began to pop, one by one, like grapes under a boot. The million drones in the sky over Neo-Sol suddenly plummeted, their connection severed so violently that their internal cores overloaded. The city was rained upon by the metal carcasses of the Vex swarm. Sarah and Jax converged, their own rigs adding to the cacophony. We stood in a triangle around the dying lord, our heads thrown back, our helmets arcing with white lightning. We were a choir of the damned, and our song was the end of the hive-mind. With a final, world-shaking convulsion, the synapse lord's central brain exploded in a spray of purple ichor. The creature's gravity field failed, and it crashed onto the spire roof, its massive form dissolving into a heap of useless, steaming tissue. The silence that followed was absolute. Not the Vex silence, but the beautiful, messy silence of a world that was no longer being watched. I slumped to my knees, my rig hissing as it bled off the excess thermal energy. The static in my head was still there, but it had faded to a low thrum. I looked at Sarah and Jax. They were alive, though their eyes were bloodshot and their hands were shaking. I looked up. The sky was clear of drones. The neon lights of Neo-Sol flickered, reflecting off the metal graveyards in the streets below. Humanity has proven the ultimate truth of the Iron Siege. You can have a perfect mind. You can have a billion soldiers moving as one. You can be the ultimate signal in the universe. But we are the species that lives in the noise. We are the ones who can turn our own suffering into a weapon. We are the static screamers. And we will keep screaming until every hive mind in the galaxy burns out. The Lord is dead. The swarm is gone. Neo-Sol is ours. The mission is over. Now, someone get me the strongest painkillers on the planet. I think I've earned them.